Happy New Year, Happy New Year, and Happy New Year again. Today, January 1st, 2015, marks the first day of a new a year that is bound to bring so much more for those of us who spent 2014 kind of making our way to today. And we're going to talk about that today. My name is Velyn Hawkins, and I'm your host of the BIZ Info Zone Show, and I would like to welcome you to today's show, the first show of 2015, and it's going to be an amazing show. And I want to tell you why, because this show is for you, the savvy social entrepreneur who desires to express your purpose, plan your next moves, and take your business and your life into the realm of prosperity. And during the course of this year, we're going to teach you, to share with you, to enlighten you with ways and opportunities and just the things from my heart to yours that will help you to stand in the space of light and enlightenment as a social entrepreneur, as a spiritual entrepreneur, as a spiritualpreneur, a socialpreneur, and someone who just wants to do more in the world to make it a better place, to help make it a better place. So really quickly, let me just lay the groundwork. The BIZ Info Zone is here to help you to focus on the 3 P's of business and life: purpose, planning, and prosperity. And there are 5 key areas of business mastery that we will be focusing on. The first being money and finance. You know, there's a lot of innovation in social entrepreneurship that not only allows you to identify the kind of money that you would like to flow through your business in your life, but in focusing on the financial aspects of business also allows you that opportunity. The second area of business mastery is marketing and sales, where we'll really focus on your mission, vision, your presence, and your branding. This is going to be the place that's your soul perception, your business's soul perception. We're going to focus on a third key area, mindset and strategy. And that's where we're actually going to be talking about communication and leadership and leverage and business acceleration. And that's the area that we're going to be focusing on today. But the fourth key area of business mastery that the BIZ Info Zone show will focus around is health and wellness. And I call that the circle of life. It's feeling the soul of your business, and it exudes from you, the social savvy entrepreneur. And then we're going to actually have some time focusing in the operations area. I call that the turn of the wheel. Without your operations being there and set, and your systems and processes being such that you can plan your business, do your business, review it, and adjust. And there are certain things that come along with the turning of the wheel that we're going to address as part of the operations mastery area. Today, as I mentioned, we are in the mindset and strategy category, and we're going to focus on today intentional creation for 2015. And for those of you who know me, you know that I'm more than a spiritual entrepreneur. I am truly an example of social entrepreneurship with several of the projects that I have going on and several of the joint ventures and key strategic alliances that I've been blessed to have created in 2014. And that being said, I have one of my favorite people in the whole world here today to share this time and space with us, and that's Cynthia Gardner ONeill. And Cynthia is the founder of the Center for Loving Consciousness and the creator of Harmonics. And for those of you who are wondering, well, what is harmonics? If you've seen a prior show, you probably have seen us talking about harmonics. Today we're going to talk to you about intentions, creating intentions, and how it starts with the heart. It starts with the heart, and it actually is the heart starting as like a rosebud that is blooming. And what the two of us have really gotten together and said is that when our hearts met each other, it was like meeting a new sister. And in that meeting and that sisterhood, we've been able to co-create so many wonderful things that are actually going to be the result will be seen in 2015. Ah, I like that. That kind of rhymes, huh? The result will
Yeah.
be seen in 2015. I like that. And you, as part of our audience and part of our community, will get the benefit of experiencing that with us. So let me quickly just say, Cynthia, welcome. Thanks for being here with us today. I'm so happy to have you here with us today.
Well, thanks for bringing me on again, bringing me back. You know, our hearts keep reconnecting again and again and again. And actually, they never separate from each other, do they? We're always connected, and that's probably why we have that circulation of information and education and receiving one another's gifts that we have to give. And that's, I think, one of the things that we've talked about recently, and why you brought up the part of intention, is what is our intention with our when we're speaking about business, you know, the savvy entrepreneur, and you know, what is your intention as being an entrepreneur? Who is your market? What's the intention that you set for your business? And that's something that we, in order to start a business, have to do. And so we live in an intention-driven universe. And like an arrow focused on its target, one well-directed intention can bring about order to the broadest expanse of chaos and even infinity. So, and speaking of infinity, 2015, if you total 2015 up, it comes out to be the numerology number of 8. That's the infinity symbol. So if you're in chaos right now or concerned about the upcoming year, know that we are moving into an energy that can transform chaos into order. Through your intentions, you have to participate. Set your intentions so that whether your business, what you do with your family, what you do with your own education, your relationships, or any of those things, if they have a discordant energy going on, you can set an intention within your heart, that loving intention, to change it. Because love transforms consciousness.
It does, and I'm so glad that you said that, because one of the things that came to me was the question, what can I bring to this audience for the beginning of 2015 that has meaning, has intention? And I have this ask and it is given calendar. Esther and Jerry Hicks, and if you know about Abraham. And today on January 1st, I just thought it was so appropriate because Abraham revealed himself, or themselves, if you know anything about Abraham. They say, we are called Abraham, and we're speaking to you from a non-physical dimension. In this non-physical realm, we do not use words, for we do not require language. We also do not have tongues with which to speak or ears with which to hear, although we do communicate perfectly with one another. Our non-physical language is one of vibration, and our non-physical communities or families are those of intention. And with that said, you know, thinking about the non-physical things that can drive us, can motivate us, can keep us in forward motion. What's the thing that it stems from? That's intention. And that's what we're here to talk to you about today, because without setting the intention, you know, you hear set your goals. Do you have your goals set? Whether they're goals, which is a very hard and finite thing. We just talked about being abilities and infinite potential. And if there is a goal, it's finite. So you want to transcend beyond goals, beyond the illusion of goals, and into things that are more milestones. Milestones denote, upon reaching, being at a level where you can rest, reflect, adjust, and then go to the next milestone. And I really like milestones because in identifying them, I also identified what my intention was for today's show. And it took me to a place of reflecting on 2014. What did 2014 hold for me? And what do I intend for 2015 that makes this the milestone, the place where I can land and reflect and review and adjust and then move forward from an ease and a grace that honestly having a goal doesn't provide for me. And what I realize is that 2014 was a year of preparation, of incubation, of positioning, of seeing the feedback that failure may have provided me. Because honestly, there is no failure. There is only feedback. And that's a truth in NLP terms, because when we see failure, we see stop. When we see failure, we go into the emotional connection with failure that doesn't allow us to look at the lessons that may have been provided for us, to see the feedback. So 2014, if it was a year of learning and lessons for you, then maybe you defined a little more clarity in your purpose. You've looked at identifying ways to plan a little more or plan to adjust. You've experienced some healing. You've seen the results of testing some of the things that you've done, and in that test identify what it is that you needed to adjust or desired to adjust. Coordinating and cultivating, and in all of this, it's allowed such a freedom of expression for me that has really caused me to go to my heart and be in gratitude for every person, every opportunity, everything that I've experienced over the past year. Whether I consciously remember it or not, it has added to who I am today, the clarity in my vision for not just this show, but for my business, and the clarity that I've been able to share with my clients about helping them to come to that same clarity of vision for their businesses. And Cynthia, that said, I would just love to find out, reflecting on 2014, what have you seen?
Well, when I reflect on 2014 and think about the intentions I set for myself in my own life, I see a lot of those intentions that I set many years ago showing up. And it's amazing. I had forgotten about some of those intentions, but all of a sudden they came to light when they actually came to fruition, so to speak. Certain people have come into my life that I had asked for, that I sent the intention to meet that type of person. Or a question that I had, and I sent my intention on finding those answers. or an intention that I had to bring my business to another level where I can reach out to more people. So all those intentions were set many, many years ago, and they all seem to be coming in to being, coming into being right now. And that's what harmonics really is about, the harmonics of the heart. Okay? So where there might be some discordance or some energy that's not flowing well, you know, a lot of time those challenges that are coming in, you want to harmonize those energies. And how we harmonize those energies is by setting an intention to find the answers, to resolve the discordance or the issues or the illness or the dis-ease that we have. Where we can look out and see that there's certain issues that I'm having problems with and how I want to solve them. And then I look outside myself and I see other people having the same kind of problems. Now, I have learned that what I'm learning, I teach best. So when we set those intentions to go learn something to help heal ourselves, because what I'm healing inside myself, I heal in others. And that's the giving and receiving that we always talk about. And intentions sets that circulation in progress. You know, that sets life, the movement of life in progress. And in fact, intention is about you know, taking action to live your life more fully, to resolve any kind of discordance that might be going on. And we really do that from the heart. What motivates humanity is love. You know, it's not, you know, you might say, well, that's intellectual, that you want to go out and learn something new. But what motivates you to set the intention to learn something new? Why would you want to learn something new? It has to do with the heart first, and then it goes to the brain. And you know, you can't have a thought. I mean, you know, the thought is what adds to the intention. It's a part of the intention. In fact, I'd love to share with you something actually Lynn and I talked about earlier. One of my mentors is Glenda Green, and she has a beautiful course called The 12 Laws of the Universe that always work. And she starts out with one of the first laws is the law of intention. And I'm just going to read this just a little bit here. So intention is the initiation of action without reservation, with a commitment to see it through to completion. Okay? Intention is very specifically directed towards the subject or object of its desire. Intention is not ambiguous or foggy. Okay? So, and she also says here, you know, there's something really important here about the thought that I was just bringing in.
You know, as you're looking for that, I just want to add that is so in alignment with the same place that I have been coming from the past few days. And I've been studying again Raymond Hollowell's Working with the Law.
Yes.
And the first law that he's identified of the laws of the universe is the law of thought. And the way that he describes it is, putting it into context, it is totally intention. We think of is what we intend. And where it goes from there, I think, is what you're actually driving to. And I love that Glenda Green has identified it so well. The intention, the initiation of action. Intention is the initiation of action without reservation and seeing it through to completion.
Yeah.
While we can see that occurring in thought, it is, you said there's a little more to it because you have to do something, and it is the actions, the intention in thought coupled with action
Mm.
actually bring you to the result. And I love that. Having, as you described, what motivates humanity is love. Having love as part of that formula really puts us as business owners in the space of service. And I know that you had a little more that Glenda Green had stated. And I'd love for you, if you found it, I'd love for you to share the rest of that.
I do. And so one of the things she says, thought can be important in clarifying our intent. But I can assure you, thought does not cause it. One can think forever without generating action. Okay? And she also, says that the law of intent is what sets everything else in motion. And so something that's real beautiful, since we're talking about heart here, Hartmonics, and I'm a founder of the Center for Loving Consciousness. And I really believe, as I said before, that love is what motivates humanity. It's what, actually, in society, a lot of times in marketing things, we always say sex sells. Well, it's really not sex that we're selling, because really we've been taught that sex is about making love. Well, sex sells because people are in that thought process where they're searching for. The wisdom we seek is to know we are love. We're always seeking what love is. And that's what loving consciousness is all about, and Hartmonics is about finding that heart space within you and knowing that you are that love. And so love creates all life through its desire for experience. Love creates all life through its desire for experience. And I repeated that again because love is setting an intention to have an experience. And we cannot have an experience without having, without someone or something, having a relationship with someone or something. So I want to read this little part here that she wrote about that. And she says, by now you are possibly wondering how and where love fits into the law of intention, and all the other laws of the universe for that matter. After all, were all things not created as love and by love? The answer is certainly yes, but not by love alone. Okay? There are other factors in our creation, and well beyond that. Love is the greatest and perhaps the only real mystery in the universe. It is above all law. It defines all law, and yet it willingly serves in the conduct of all true law. I would like to quote a wonderful passage from Yeshua in Love Without End. So, you cannot define love with even the largest definition, for your understanding is not external to it, because love is who you are. You will never fully comprehend its mysteries, because love is who God is. Love is the divine mystery. Love cannot be controlled. It cannot be predicted. It cannot be enforced. It cannot be enslaved. It cannot be killed. It cannot be defined. If you would speak of the depth, the power, and the infinite genius of love, think upon its ability to end all duality. Love has no opposites. It cannot be captured, and yet it willingly serves. It is infinitely free, and yet it abides in captivity. It cannot be enforced, and yet it is the basis of all law. It is the bringer of truth, and yet it never judges. It is the seer of all things, and yet it never condemns. It conquers by surrendering. It rules by lifting up. Through its mastery of paradox, love ends all duality. And then she says, love cannot be described or defined by any characteristic of law. Yet it empowers all of the fundamental laws of the universe with creative results, goodness, and impartiality. From my perspective, I believe that when we study, honor, and apply any of the true laws of the universe, we are opening doors and cutting pathways through which love may flow more abundantly into our lives or into life around us. And then I am going to speak of another quote, but maybe before I do the quote of Khalil Gibran, you had a beautiful quote about intention and work and love and all those things.
Yes, yes.
Would you like to come in and what I just spoke about, as far as love and intention and what it really is to us? And one more thing to go along with this is, did you guys, I want to give you this statistic in Google. The most searched word or word phrase in 2014 was love. And second in line was the word love in Spanish, and then third most searched word was the word love in, gosh, I can't remember, one other language. I can't remember what it was. But talk about, being motivated by love. I mean, it's the most searched for word or word phrases around love than any other thing ever searched for on the internet.
I am so glad that you brought that up, because that was an amazing realization for me. One of the things that you said that I really want people to focus on is, you said love creates all life because of its desire for experience. And can you imagine the most searched for word or word phrase in 2014 in Google being love? The thing that creates all life because of its desire for experience. And I'm just so enamored by that, because people, it's like, you think about how important it was at one point in time for people to really focus on the separation of church and state. You can't have government that talks about, the spiritual aspect of life. And yet today we are finding that there's so much more in the way of opposition to that thinking, of support in bringing the concept of love and spirituality and giving and receiving and helping others into what it is that we're all about. Especially entrepreneurs, I think, are focusing more on this now than ever before. You mentioned that love is above all of the laws of the universe. It has no opposite. It is love or nothing. And think about how so much of society has taught us the nothing aspect. It's all about self. It's all about narcissism, and if you are not considering self, and I don't mean the love of self that allows you to take care of yourself so that you can do more in the world. I'm talking about the selfish, the dark side. Somebody asked, I thought this was really cool. Somebody asked Bob Proctor one day, it's like, how do you deal with the negative in your life and in your business? And Bob had a really interesting answer that transcended the illusion of just dealing with negative. And he said this: how do you change darkness when you walk into a room? When you walk into your house and it's completely dark, how do you change that? You turn on the light. And in turning on the light, you now have illuminated so much in your life, in your world, that you've allowed yourself to not just raise your energy from the lower level of, lack and darkness, but you've allowed the light to come in. And you talked about it too. It's a giving and receiving. So you give the light switch a flip, and then you're able to receive the light. And there's a place where each of us has come from, where I believe we can honestly say that it felt like we walked out of the darkness and into the light. And it is about staying in the light, staying in the illumination of infinite possibilities and infinite potential that will bring about just the changes in the world, the positive changes in the world that we're looking to really see. And you mentioned, yes, I've spent so many years in my left brain business head that when I started learning more about spirituality and more about the things of life that were the other side of me, and I say the other side of me, what I realized today is that they were truly my heart blossoming. And I mentioned Raymond Hollowell's book and how Bob Proctor and Mary Morrissey have this training on the 11 Forgotten Laws. And I pulled out my book, and I have to tell you that I was introduced to this work in 2003, which lets me know that, even with the blossoming of your heart, getting to the space of true understanding, your heart blooms to a certain point where the light switch actually really is flipped on, and you really are standing in and commanding the light to be around you, and the things that you do, the things that you're involved in, the people that you align with are part of the illumination. And so one day I recalled, and I pulled the book, and I had already had it marked with a little tag, because I had realized I had, over the past several years, been teaching this material. And even teaching it, it was part of the seed planted in my own heart that allowed the blossoming and the blooming that I'm experiencing today. But I just want to read you a piece of this where Khalil Gibran responds to the plowman who says, "Speak to us of work." And the prophet answered, saying, "You work that you may keep pace with the earth and the soul of the earth." Not many of us think about the soul of ourselves, much less our heart being the soul encapsulated within ourselves. And I talk about soul perception in the marketing and sales key area of business mastery, because it all ties together. And this really excites me, because Khalil Gibran goes on to say, "For to be idle is to become a stranger unto the seasons, and to step out of life's procession that marches in majesty and proud submission towards the infinite. When you work, you're a flute through whose heart the whispering of the hours turns to music. Which of you would be a reed, dumb and silent, when all else sings together in unison? Always have you've been told that work is a curse and a labor of misfortune. But I say to you that when you work, you fulfill a part of Earth's furthest dream, assigned to you when the dream was born. And in keeping yourself with labor, you're in truth loving life. And to love life through labor is to be intimate with life's inmost secret. But if you in your pain call birth an affliction, and the support of the flesh a curse upon your brow, then I answer that not by the sweat of your brow shall wash away that which is written. So once your purpose is defined in you, not even the sweat of your brow, not even going off course, not even falling into a ditch will reassign that purpose. So he goes on to say, and this is what was really key for me. You've been told also that life is darkness, and in your weariness you echo what was said by the weary. And I say that life is indeed darkness, save when there is urge. That's the action that we're talking about. And all the urge is blind, save when there is knowledge. And all the knowledge is vain, save where there is work. And all work is empty, save where there is love. And when you work with love, you bind yourself to yourself and to one another and to God. And when it is work with love, it is to weave the cloth with threads drawn from your heart. And even if as if your beloved were to wear that cloth. And it's to build a house with affection, even as if your beloved were to dwell in that house. It's to sow seeds with tenderness and reap the harvest with joy, even as if your beloved were to eat the fruit. It's to charge all things your fashion with a breath of your own spirit, and to know that all the blessed dead are standing about you and watching. And you know what? They are cheering you on. They are your support system. They are those who whisper in your ear, don't ever give up. Don't stop. It's just in front of you. You don't know how close you are. And so what we're here today to bring to you is some real illumination around setting your intentions for 2015 so that they come from the reflection of all that is behind you and into the now that leads to and comes from love, from your heart. It's truly the heart awakening, and that 8, 2 + 1 + 5 = 8. Infinite possibilities and infinite potential. They are in you, they are around you, and they will be the magic carpet that you can ride through 2015, allowing your heart to lead you. And Cynthia, what would you have to add to that?
Well, you've had shared so much, and what we're sharing, we have been quoting some of the people who have illuminated us with their own light. And they wouldn't have been able to do that if we weren't open to receiving that light. And so this is illumination through education. We, in this show that we're doing today on intention, is showing you that we set an intention to meet up with people who could teach us what they knew. And we went there to receive it, and so we want to share what we learned from someone else to be where we are right now. But we would have never gotten there or met them if we hadn't set that intention. And you as a business, if you're going out wanting to serve and give your gifts, it's really important to be open to receiving from others, because you can't give what you have to bring to others unless there's other people out there to receive what you have to give. But be open to them receiving in the way that they receive, not in the way that you receive, because no one gives the same and no one receives the same. Don't put any judgment or attachment on it. That's what happens is people, they have attachments to how people give, how people receive, what people do with it. You were speaking of blooming. A flower blooms, it doesn't wait to see if someone notices it. It doesn't wait to get permission to bloom. It blooms. It just does it because it is. So
You are
Okay.
someone who
Mhm.
desires permission. You know, there are a lot of us who are approval seekers. Give it to yourself. Give yourself permission
Mhm.
to bloom, to learn, to look at the wisdom that your heart is providing you that will help you to stand in the space of illumination and do, as Cynthia has mentioned about, with intention, there is thought, but with intention, there's also action. So while you may be sitting here thinking about, well, I've set my intentions or I am setting my intentions, the next thing is to take action.
Yeah. And hmm, just so much to be said, for that, taking action. And a lot of times people won't take action because they're afraid of what people will think of them. Again, that's attachment on what others do with it. Even when you give your gift or you teach what you're teaching, don't be attached to how they learn or what they do with it. One of the things that transformed my life to be where I am today was when I was going through a huge shift in my life. I had gone through financial devastation, foreclosure of my home. I went through a divorce. I was homeless, and yet, I wasn't. I had this here. Home is where your heart is. And I remember I was house sitting and taking care of some pets, and I was out for a walk that day, and I came upon a man who I had known for a long time, but I hadn't seen him in a long time. Um, and at that time, I was in this place of, having all this wisdom and all this education, all this illumination through education that I'd received. And I knew I could help many, many people. But I was seeing people as having problems, and I wanted to fix them. So there was a little attachment for me on how people would receive me. And I was telling him how upset I was that I had all these wonderful things that I could help people with. Yet no one was receiving this from me, I just want to help them. I wanted to fix their problems and everything. Where we see disharmony, disharmony is. Where we see
Mhm.
harmony, harmony is.
Yes.
But he said to me, he goes, Cynthia, let me share something with you. He goes, I went through some really hard times, and many people didn't know that, I spent some time in jail for a little while. And he says there wasn't a lot to read or anything to do there, but there was a Bible there. And he said, I'm just going to paraphrase something for you. And he goes, hopefully this will help you with where you're at. And he said, there's a part there that Jesus said, and when I do say scripture and things like that, I want people to know this isn't religion. This is scripture. This is a love. This is heart. This is soul that we're speaking of here. But he paraphrased and he said, if your words fall on deaf ears, move on. Don't put anything on it. Be there. Show up. Bloom. Be the flower that blooms, that shares its beauty, without asking, just you have this information, share it. Share it and don't be attached to what people do with it. Plant the seed. They might not be in the consciousness of being able to receive that in the moment until they have more experiences, and then later it's kind of like reading a book 10 years ago and picking up and reading it today. It's not the same book to you.
You are not the same person. That's
You're not the
exactly
same
right.
person. Those are your experiences that are coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Each experience in every single second and moment. Right now, you guys being here with this hour of listening to what we have to say, even from the first moment that we were speaking, you changed. Change is the only is a constant in the universe.
And
We can't
growth,
stay away from change, and a lot of
growth.
people resist change. But guess what? That's what causes the struggle instead of surrendering to it. So,
You're absolutely right.
yeah.
People have heard the saying, change is constant, growth is optional. And it is
Yeah,
truly, it's kind of what I was also saying about failure. You know, failure can be looked at as growth versus it being failure and something that could potentially stop you or impede you from going in the direction that you are purposed to go in, and instead you step off the side of the road and maybe even land in a ditch. But to recognize that change, especially change for the better, is where you want to set your intentions to go to. And you go to it through growth. And action is required because I love the way you said about the rose and the flower doesn't ask whether or not it can bloom, it just does.
yeah,
When seeds are planted in your heart, they will grow. But there's one thing that one of the laws of the universe says too, is that you can cut it off. You can stop it. And what we're here to help you to understand is that when you allow yourself to not only give, but to receive the lessons, receive the opportunities, and receive the help that can come to you as well. One of the things that one of my clients said to me just recently was, I have been looking for the kind of help that you've given me in such a short period of time, and I just don't know what has taken it so long to get here. Now, that thinking could be an impediment to what is able to be even more. And so my response to her was, just be in gratitude that it's shown up now, and let's do this. Let's make the most of it and get the best out of it, which totally shifted the energy. And I want to go back to this energy thing, Cynthia, because it is so, so important. One of the things that we talked about was, you know, in kind of looking back in retrospect over 2014, and there may not have been, you know, the money in the bank that anyone may have wanted to see, or there may not have been, you know, the total number of opportunities that one may have wished for in their business. But as you look at that and you look at the energy, the energetic frequency that comes out of that, how does the heart play into that? And how do you shift if you know that you're in one of these lower frequencies? How do you shift to take it up a notch and get up to a higher frequency where, you know, it's like looking above the clouds, you can see?
Wow. Well, one of the things that you and I have spoke of when you're talking about energy and the money in the bank, or the value of your business, and where's the money coming from, is to recognize your value. One of the things I talk about changing, when we're talking about changing, I always say change your value by changing what you value. Okay? And so what do you value in life? You know, is it a big house, or is it the quality that you have with your family? So quantity over quality. That, you know, what do you value? Quantity, or do you value quality of life? And what are those things? You know, redefining those things for yourself. Now, experience, when we're speaking of experience, sometimes the experience that you're receiving, in order for you to have more money in the bank, is much more valuable at that time than the actual money in the bank. So you really have to look at the value. The value of relationships, you know, having a value to value relationships. You're having an exchange. And that is, can be more valuable than having to go out and pay for something. All of a sudden you're having an experience with someone that gives you the training and education from the experience you have with them to take your business to another level. I have a love seat that I used to do where I have speak about love and a lot of things. When I started speaking about loving consciousness in business, a lot of people were saying to me, "What has love got to do with business? Love can't pay the bills." And so the thing is, as I did a talk about, can love pay the bills? And what comes out of it is love might not pay the bills literally, but what love does is it gives you the opportunity and brings to you and attracts to you what you need to pay the bills. It brings you the abundance. It brings you the prosperity. But you have to be open to receiving it in order for you to get it. And to already, I love the word already. To already be grateful, to be grateful for what you already have. To pray for already being taken care of. And seeing and already being the value that you need in your business. You are valuable to your business, your heart, your intention to make a difference in this world. That's the most valuable thing that you can have. So I would say the first thing to change your consciousness is to change how you perceive yourself and your value, and know what that is. So, and with that, do you have something? I know you were getting ready to.
I was getting ready to say that's exactly what my client experienced. It was changing how she perceived herself. It took her realizing that and saying, this is very, very important. This is something that I was called to do. I truly believe it's my purpose, and the help that I need will come to me. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like instantaneously, there it was, a connection to a connection to a connection, and somebody said, talk to so-and-so. They're in this space. That's what they do. And that's how we got connected. And so it is truly like walking into a dark room, and it is as easy as flipping the light switch on. Now, I just heard a naysayer saying, well, I'm living in my car. I don't have a light switch. The light switch is in your mind. Or, I can't pay my bills. My electricity's shut off. So light a candle. Light the candle in your heart. Mm-hmm. That allows the illumination to begin. And then listen. Be open to receiving the messages that may put you in a place where someone sees you or you have this conversation, and that in itself could change everything. So I love the way that you brought that through the whole value and experience, and it is valuing self first. Allows you to then value what it is that you do. And in that value, when you come from a place of service, I know I can make money off of this, so I'm doing this. And then you're working 24/7. I know that people need this. This is a problem to be solved, so I'm going to go in this direction. Or how does it feel between those two things and the third thing of, this is really my heart's desire to help in this regard. I know that it solves a problem, and this is the problem. I know that I could reach the masses. However, and this is where we talk about niche. in my niche, I know exactly who I'm talking to. I know exactly what to say. I know exactly what their pain is, and I know exactly what their desires are. And so being in this space, my heart can clearly communicate. And Cynthia, you have this amazing thing about how the heart communicates. Tell us a little bit about how the heart communicates so that as we're thinking about this whole question around niche, which I hear so often, one of my programs is on niche mastery. Why you want to have a niche, why you want to hone it down so tightly. And it is truly because upon doing that, the masses can then find you. But tell to us about that whole idea around the heart communicating.
Well, the heart is the central communication center for every single one of your cells. You know, so it's communicating with everything that you are. But also the heart goes beyond that. The heart is 60 times more amplified than any parts of your body. So the amplification of the heart, amplifying, so that's what you're putting out. I amplify. So whatever my state of being is, okay? So I'm amplifying, my state of being is love. And if I'm amplifying love out into the world, what I'm going to get back is, so the heart is 5,000 times more electromagnetic. So electromagnetic magnetizes back. So what we are putting out, we get back 100 times plus. So if I'm amplifying love out there, guess what I get back? People who resonate with that love. It comes back to me 100 times plus. If my state of being is anger and being, judgmental, judging others and stuff, that I'm judging all that's going on out there, guess what I'm going to get back? People judging me. As we hear, judge not, lest ye be judged. So what we put out into the world, we get back 100 times plus. So just imagine that. All right, so you're going out to give your service. And if you're in your heart and you want to make a difference, the mindset. So you brought in mind earlier, and I always say a healthy heart for a healthy mindset. Okay, because the heart does set the mind in what we decide to do. So everything begins in the heart and then goes to the brain. And so our heart is 60 times more amplified than the brain and 5,000 times more electromagnetic than the brain. Okay? And when we speak of mind, a lot of people, I believe mind is the whole of who we are. The heart, the mind. So sometimes it's about what are we speaking of? Are we speaking of the brain, or are we speaking of the heart, or are we speaking, some people when they speak about mind, they're speaking about the brain. Because it's an intellectual way of how we speak about who we are, and what we've learned from many, many, many years is that the main thing that we thought was the main thought that was working was the brain, was creating the thoughts, but really it's the heart first. We feel first before we think. So the intention, love. So if the state of being is love, that's the intention for love to have an experience. And when we have those experiences, that's what comes back to us. So if we're having, our intention is going out of being in a place of love and being of service, the experience we get back is that we have put that out, we receive back the experience of love. So I always say the state of your being, let it be love. So two people, to give you an example of what this is, two people can be both doing the same laboring job. And you were speaking about this before, okay? One is bitching and moaning and groaning about that laboring job, and they're so pissed off that they got to do this job and blah 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 blah, and they're miserable. And here's this other person who's doing the exact same job, and he's happy and excited and grateful to have a job. I mean, they're both doing the same thing. They're both, in a way, having the same experience physically, but internally in their hearts are different. They're having a different experience with each other than you know. And this is one thing I teach. The first thing when you begin to know yourself, the awareness, self-awareness is the first module of Harmonics. Self-awareness, to be aware of what your perception is. And it makes a huge difference on how you perceive the world. Perception makes a difference as far as how you receive, too. You know, so I teach brain dominance. And because how you are in your brain, too, whether you're left brain or right brain, determines how you receive information. And the heart, when we're in our hearts, it actually balances the brain. We call it whole brain balance. And we're able to resolve problems a lot easier. We have more clarity and focus. And we're more in harmonics. Our hearts are coherent. That's the harmonics of the heart. So perception is a huge basis of how we experience life. And we have a choice on that perception. You can either be the man who hates the laboring job that he's doing, or you can be the man who loves the job that he's doing and grateful for it. And one of the hardest things is, you said earlier, you had the woman who, she's living out of her car and everything, and she's like going, how can I have a better experience than this? You know, but that's the question she should be asking about, instead of setting in the place of, I can't do that because I'm living in this way. I always say, what can you do then? What can you do? You know, being in abused, I was abused and you know, raped and sexually abused from when I was 11 till I was 15. During that time, you know, you know, could be hell, whatever. But luckily, I went to my heart. I was really blessed with the opportunity to connect with those who've transitioned. So my father had died when I was 7, and I constantly connected with him. I went to the love. What can I do in this moment of where I'm in total discordance and in hell, so to speak? I could either stay there, or instead I went and found what I can do. I went to the love. And I also tell a story about the Tibetan monks. And the Tibetan monks, for all of you who have had difficulties where you're at and you think you can't make it out of it, or you can't have a better experience, you can. You know, they did a study on the Tibetan monks who were incarcerated and tortured and killed, some of them killed and everything, by the Chinese. And later, the Chinese released them. The reason why they released them is because the Chinese were the ones who were being tortured because they were hurting another human being. Well, the Tibetan monks who were released are now living into their hundreds, way beyond anybody would thought they would. And they're youthful, and they're happy, and they're vibrant and radiant. And so they did studies. They wanted to do studies about how do these Tibetan monks go through such trauma and such abuse and come out living, you know, their longevity and healthy and youthful. And they found that they're still making stem cells because they don't put themselves under stress. They don't choose the stress. They choose the love. And how do I know this? Is because Dalai Lama was a part of that study, and he asked them, what's the hardest thing you went through, you know, while you were incarcerated, why you went through this trauma? And the Tibetan monk, he turned around and he said, this is his reply, my greatest fear was that I would lose compassion for my enemies. They were in this kind of place of trauma, of difficulties, of torture, And during that time, they still had compassion for their enemies. They came out still loving life, still vibrant, and still creating more life inside of themselves. As we've heard, the kingdom of heaven is within.
Yes.
You create that. You are in the oneness of all life, love.
Yes. And in that love, that's what Cynthia and I would like for you to know about setting your intentions for 2015. We typically find that it's so much easier to do when you're talking about your personal relationships, family, friends. But how do you do that? How do you bring the love into your business? And I would just like to say that along with what Cynthia was talking about as far as self-awareness and the harmony of your heart and your brain and the creating the coherent communication, it allows the perception to be imbalanced, as she talked about. And then you also know that you've given yourself the ability to make wiser choices. Cynthia's got this great saying, I love to quote her on this, get out of your head and go to your heart, because your heart is much wiser. And with that, you know, and we're talking about setting intentions for 2015, I would just like to add, let your heart lead you in not just setting your intentions, but setting your milestone goals, setting your marketing strategy, setting your vision for the opportunities that you would like to see in your business. And take the time to take an inventory of what 2014 was for you and your business. And look at it from both aspects. I know that, you know, a lot of the forethought will be the positive things. What were some of the positive things that happened to me? What were the powerful, creative blessings that I was able to see in my business that helped create a better life for me on a personal level? But then also, you know, we in balance also want to look at the negative side. But check it out from a different perspective and perception. And that is, if there was any degree of shame or hurt or disappointment, look at those from a place of heart where you, in NLP terms, dissociate with the emotional connection to those things. And from your heart, you can see them in the light of truth and see the lessons, see the messages that were being communicated to you because of those experiences. And then upon taking this inventory of 2014, you'll have infused a degree of love into your work that will be your weaving the cloth of 2015 and your business potential, the business possibilities, the infinite that comes into play for what it is that's ahead of you, and really weave the cloth of love around everything that you desire to do, around everything that you are setting the intention to see in your business and in your life. And we want to help you to do that. We've got a couple of things coming up in the next couple of weeks, actually, that we'd like to invite you to. And one of them is, I mean, you can find more and connect more with Cynthia at heartmonics.org. That's heartmonics.org. And then you can connect with me as well at p3academy.com. And you can see that here on the screen. You can see that where in Cynthia's heartmonics.org, and mine is p3academy.com. And both of us are in the space of providing you with opportunities to infuse more heart into the work that you do. And that heart being the heart of love, being the value, and increasing the positive value and experiences that you have in your business and your work. And one of the things that we're going to be doing is teaching and participating in the teaching of story. You know, a lot of who we are, we call our story. It is truly our story. We are the sum total of all of our experiences, and those experiences equal our story. But there's a certain way of perceiving our stories that can either impact us on a positive level and just take us to the point of soaring in our work, or it can hold us back, and it can even hold us back and we're not even understanding why it's happening. So we are participating in, we are bringing you teachings from an experience called the Permission Movement Experience. And the Permission Movement Experience is all around writing a new story that is something that's going to just intentionally change your life, your business, and it is truly an honor and a pleasure to be part of bringing this to you and to be sharing that with Cynthia and with so many others. I want to just tell you some of the people who are participating in this with us. There's Natalie Ledwell, who is one of the co-creators of Mind Movies. We've got Gail Watson, who is the president of the Women Speakers Association. We've got David Bullock, who is the creator of Story Leverage. He's actually going to help us to identify what our story is, how our story is the us in the center of this whole vast array of the things that we're involved in our families, in our businesses, in our friendships and associates, relationships, and how that story can be tweaked, either a lot or a little, in order to really see some amazing things come out of what it is that we can create for our futures. And intentional creation is a space that Cynthia and I have been in over the past several months, have just so enjoyed being in with each other and with creating for our own selves as well. And I want to just put this in front of you because the Permission Movement Experience you can find at permissionexperience.org. That's permissionexperience, all one word, .org. You'll see all the information there about what the Permission Movement Experience is all about, and we invite you to join us there to share in all that's going to be going on. I shared a few things. Cynthia, why don't you tell people what's going to be happening as far as Love Week? I love that.
Love Week. Well, there's a World Love Week coming up with Ken Krell is launching all that with his the new Totalpreneur courses. Get that languaging out. And so it will be all about how the Love Week, about how love is what really sets the intention for us to have these experiences, and how much it is in business, how much 2015 is about bringing love into our businesses, into our education, into our clients. It's about life itself. You know, business itself. If most of your time is spent in your business, so why not? You know, life should be, you know, a part. Your heart, your love, and all those things are a part of business. And as you were talking about the quote that you have about work, about, let the state of your being be love when it comes to your work, because it is who you are. It is what you are here to do and to serve and to be. Don't make it, work is just a word. Make it a frequency. Make it a word that is a blessing in your life. Make it maybe an intention. What is work to you? Don't make it a laboring, place that you suffer in. Make it something that is a blessing to all that you give it to. Why you do it, know.
And work should be that. It should be the love that you express. And we are going to have, I just want to kind of explode when I think about this, 9 weeks, 9 celebrities, and 9 opportunities to really hear the essence of story. Lean in, create your story, and change your life. Terry and Chief Robert Taltree are going to be with us, and they're going to talk about your story and the 3 arrows of power. We're going to actually do a session on Speak Your Story, Help Heal the World. And then we're going to talk about give yourself permission to be a new story, to be the rest of the dash between the date you were born and the date that you've transitioned to your next life. And give yourself permission to be the new story that you create. We're going to actually learn story leverage and story strategizing. We're going to talk about money in you and your money story and how you can change your money story. And one of the things that really intrigued me was hearing one of our presenters, Dr. Monica Ogando, who is going to also contribute to the whole teaching on story leverage. But she said, Lynn, what would it feel like if the story of Romeo and Juliet could be written differently? What if we looked at that story, Romeo and Juliet, and the fact that somebody else wrote our life story, but now with the knowledge that we have and the experience of heart, we could be Shakespeare and write a new ending to what that story of Romeo and Juliet is. What a love story it might be. And I thought, oh my God, yes, that's exactly where many of us have found ourselves, writing the story of what we would love in our lives, but we haven't actually seen that be. And so one of the things that we're going to actually bring to you is dissecting what that's been all about. Has it just been mindset? Has it just been mindset that's controlled our actions? Well, wouldn't you like to know the answers to all of that? Well, we'll be exploring that and more, and you can find out more about it at permissionexperience.org. Because what would it feel like if you could write the next chapter of your story that is something that is far beyond what you could ask or think in your life? Oh my. And you know what? You have the ability to do that. And it's as easy as walking into the dark room, finding the light switch and flipping it on. We're going to show you how to do that. So join us. Be the love that you desire to have in your business. And Cynthia, I can't say enough about how coming to the realization of me and infusing heart and the love into my business and the work that I do, I've always felt that it's been there, but it hasn't connected with my brain and my heart to the degree that it has of late. And over the last year, being a part of what I've been learning from Gina Gaudio-Graves, who's also going to be one of our instructors, Jack Humphrey, who's partners with Gina, and they're the founder and deans of Directions University. And I can't tell you enough about how seeing that program work and the premise under which it was designed, the vortex model of doing business, has so allowed me to stand in the light and the power of what I intend to continue to bring to the world, and in a greater degree. I know that you two are part of the Directions University community. Tell us what that has meant for you.
Oh my goodness. You know, I'm now a faculty member, which I teach the service mindset, so a healthy heart for a healthy mindset. And just by having that belief in what I have set out and intended to do with my business, to bring loving consciousness, to bring the heart back into business, and have that support from within that community, has helped me be the person I am today, to create that illumination through education. It wouldn't have come to me this easily without the community that I have there. The market that I was looking for was right there. You know, our greatest mistake with intention is waiting for something external to appear and stimulate our interest, or to create our intentions for us. And that's what I found inside of Directions University, is I found that I didn't have to, you know, I wasn't looking outside of myself for those intentions, for someone else to give me those. They taught me that my intentions were worthy, valuable, and needed in this world. And they helped me not only validate it, they validated, you know, for me, but they helped me validate myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's the validation of self that sets you free from what other people think, or that allows you to bloom.
Yes.
Not worry about whether anybody's watching you or not. You just give of yourself and be of service. That community at Directions University is what has provided that opportunity for me.
And this is what we want to bring to you. Mm-hmm. This is part of what we desire to share with you, because it is in, I mean, Cynthia mentioned it a little earlier. It is what things that we learn and are positioned to also teach. And in our teaching, part of our teaching is about sharing the people and things that we have learned from. Like we quoted from these books, and we've discussed the experiences that we've had in not just working with each other, but within the communities that we are a part of. And I have to say, you know, it's not just one community. We have intentionally aligned with communities that support how we're growing and lend to our continued growth. And we want to be that type of a community for you as well. Mm-hmm. So I invite you to, again, go to permissionexperience.org. You'll find out all the information about how to join us for the Permission Experience. It actually starts next Monday on January the 5th. 12 p.m. noon Eastern Time, and we did it that way for a couple of reasons. One being that if you're on the East Coast and you're working a job or you're working your business, you can join us during your lunch hour. And if you're on the West Coast or in some other part of the country, you can have the video to listen to at a later point in time during the day. And all who join us will be able to get all of the videos, have available to you all of the offers that those of us who are participating are giving to you. Many of the things that we're providing are of no additional cost, and we're doing that because part of what we realize is that in empowering you, we are helping to heal the world. In empowering you, we are helping you to be to receive more into your life and in your business, so that when you do, you have more and you're able to do more good in the world. So join us. Take a look, permissionexperience.org. Take a look and join us. We'd love to have you as part of the experience.
And I just have one last thing to say here. So I really believe we are born with an agreement, which also can be an intention, to receive all life has to give and to transform it into something even better. Why? Because you can. You can. You can change and transform anything with your love. So breathe deep into your heart and love yourself more today than you did yesterday. And thank you, Lynn. Thanks for providing this opportunity for us to share our intentions of how we'd like to support and illuminate the world and make a difference.
Wonderful. And thank you, Cynthia, for joining me today. For really, you know, when you and I get together, it is truly a playful out from the heart, and it's always just totally amazing. Thank you so much for joining me again today. And there's one other thing I want to invite our audience to join us for. And that is, you and I are launching a new show. It's a new web TV show called The Adventures of the Heart, Building Wisdom Through Experience. And we are going to be providing you with some experiences that will increase your EQ. And I'm going to leave it like that because I want it to be intriguing enough for you that you'll want to join us. You'll start seeing some invitations from us. Cynthia, what do you want to add to that?
Well, in case you're wondering what EQ is, it's emotional intelligence and heart intelligence. And what we're wanting to bring to you is all this will bring you peace and harmony. So if you want more of that, come join us.
Yes, and you know, it's going to be the first show, and it's going to be a weekly show. The first show will be Thursday, January 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. And we did that for a few intentional reasons as well, because we want you to join the show live if you possibly can. And we're going to be focusing on leaders and relationships and youth, kids. We're actually going to bring the EQ and the heart of doing business and being of service in whatever it is that you do to another level. And we'd love for you to join us there live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and just be a part of the Adventures of the Heart, building wisdom through experience.
And I will say, to get this information on a regular basis, please join Lynn and I, okay, V. Lynn Hawkins, Cynthia Gardner ONeill. Go to Google+. That's where we love to hang out. There's just so much fun there, and that's where we do our hangouts. Just come in and start participating in that social media area. That's definitely a place where we can really communicate well. We can communicate with you guys, and you'll also receive a lot of information that we love to share, and give information about the heart, about socialpreneurship, about the P3 Academy, about permissions movement. All of that's really generated and flowing through there. And so please come, join us and add us to your circles if you're already in there. And we'll also work with teaching you how to do those things too, to create more community and network and everything too. So, yeah.
Love it, love it. Thank you for adding that. Yes. Find us on Google Plus, add us to your circles, we'll add you to ours, and that is truly how we create and grow community. So, with that said, I want to wrap up our show today. We've gone a little long, but you know what? That's okay, because what we had to say was very important, and it is purposeful. It was our intention to just share from our hearts and bring you, the savvy social entrepreneur, and those of you who are watching and will be watching the replay, we want you to learn to express your purpose. Plan your next moves. Take that intentional action that will have you living in prosperity and having a business that is doing more than you could ever imagine. Join us again next week, right here, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time for the BIZ Info Zone Show. This show is brought to you weekly, sponsored by Hartmonics.org and the P3 Academy of Social Entrepreneurship, as well as Skyhawk Enterprises. And we're going to have some amazing guests for you coming up. And then we want you to join us for the Adventures of the Heart show. You'll, again, see much more about it, the permission movement, all of these things that have been birthed from seeds of our hearts. And we are so grateful that you joined us here today. So until next time, have a wonderful day, a wonderful rest of the week. Be on purpose. Live your intention. We love you. God bless you. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone. Much
Bye.
love to you.